Record. Hi guys, good afternoon. The Hollywood Times would like to welcome renowned scientist Jorge Cham, and he is a robotics engineer, and Daniel Whiteson, a professor of physics and astronomics, boy that's hard to say, at UC Irvine. Thanks for taking the time, guys. How are
Thanks,
you doing?
Judy. Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot to say, hopefully.
Well, I see there's a great picture right behind Jorge here. There you go, point that out. And that's from their new show. It's their first involvement, actually their first endeavor of a children's show on PBS Kids called Elinor Wonders Why. And it premieres on Monday, September 7th on PBS Kids. It's an amazing show, folks. Let me tell you, I've got a 1.5-year-old grandson, and he just loves it. I can't keep him from touching the screen. He wants to hop around with Elinor. He loves her friends. So let's talk about how you two got involved with this project, scientist.
Yeah, Daniel, feel free to jump in. But so Daniel and I have been working together and also on our own on a lot of different projects that have to do with getting people interested and getting people to understand science and science projects and engineering and research and just getting people excited about all of the amazing work that's being done by universities and at research centers and getting just people curious about the world around them. And so this is kind of our latest project, which is to try to reach kids, which is when curiosity starts and when it needs the most nurturing and encouragement. We thought it'd be a great way to sort of get everyone excited about curiosity and asking questions.
Yeah, we felt like there's a lot of excitement in science, but a lot of people have the impression that science is not for them. It's just for scientists or people on the cutting edge. And a lot of our projects work to show people that their questions, their curiosity, the things they wonder about are the things that scientists are still wondering about, and that it belongs to everybody. And everybody has basic questions about the way the world works and the way things work around them. And so that's our sort of larger mission for all of our projects. And that's why this show, encouraging curiosity in children, fits so well into what we wanted to do.
Okay, I read that the show is sort of an inspiration because of your daughter, whose name is Elinor. How did that come about?
It's a total coincidence, Judy. No, I'm just kidding. It was, Daniel and I sort of came up with the basic idea for the show. And when it was time to sort of think about the main character, for me, it's sort of important for projects that I work on to have sort of a personal angle. And so I was really inspired at that time by my daughter, Elinor. Like most kids, like almost all kids that age, she just loved to ask questions and wouldn't stop asking questions. And every time you answer a why question, she comes up with another why question. And I think that's something that all parents can relate to. But just a lot of her energy and a lot of her, vibe, I was just really inspired. And of course, love, and that sort of inspired the main character. And another one of the main.
We do draw inspiration from our kids specifically, and also generally. We know a lot of young families and talk to a lot of kids, and we wanted to make a show that really touched the curiosity of real kids, so that when they watch the show, they see themselves in it. It's about the kids we know, but it's also supposed to be about all kids and everybody's curiosity. We wanted it to be really relatable, and we think this is a kind of a universal experience for children to be curious.
Wow. So, with both of you having kids, do you have some tips for parents with young kids, especially during this stay at home, we can't go to school, and how does that work for you if you have kids old enough to go to school? You have any tips for parents out there?
Number one advice is watch PBS Kids, especially Elinor Wonders Why.
Good answer.
Yeah, well, I think Daniel and I try to infuse the show with a lot of our experiences as parents, and definitely it's a learning experience for every parent. But I think in particular, we always try to encourage that curiosity, and when they ask us questions, even if it's a question after question, we always try to encourage that and get them thinking. And so I think a lot of what the show hopefully accomplishes is sort of that idea, that modeling of kids answering questions on their own, being encouraged to ask questions, adults being encouraging when kids ask questions, and so, yeah, I mean, it's a great way to, encourage that in your kids to watch the show, but also, hopefully the show carries some lessons that you can bring into your own life with your kids in terms of, exploring the world with them as they're learning about it.
Yeah, I got to watch Hiding in Plain Sight, and oh my God, that was really a great show. I'm trying. I have a 10-year-old grandson too. And sometimes they don't want to be bothered because, hey, I'm a gamer. Why do you want me to watch this? I said, just come over here and watch this, because I thought it was very interesting how you guys did that one. As far as how come they're finding me all the time, and how to teach kids about camouflaging, and because we all hide and seek. We've been doing that all of our lives. So I thought that was an amazing episode. Who was behind that one?
Yeah, it's one of our writers came up with the idea for that show, and I think it's Tom Berger, and he pitched the idea, and we thought it was great, just in terms of being so relatable. Hide and seek is something all kids play, and definitely at that time, my kids would play it all the time, all over the house, and just to be able to sort of mix that with a lesson about camouflage and how nature hides in nature and why it hides in nature and what's the basic idea behind camouflage. It just made it one of those sort of like, oh, this is the perfect idea for an episode.
Yeah,
Wow.
it ticked a lot of the boxes because we wanted it to be something everybody would understand, but also, as Jorge said earlier, we want the kids to be able to figure out the answer themselves. We want them to be able to just use really simple ideas from science, paying attention, taking notes, drawing kind of comparisons to get the answer themselves. They don't have to just like run to the nearest adult and say, why is this way? They figured it out themselves, and we hope that kids watching at home be like, hey, I can answer my own questions. I'm like a little scientist too. So I agree, it's a great episode.
Yeah, it's great. A good way for kids to learn. Also, I watched another great one. Was Backyard Soup. That one, I mean, you could just teach your kids, because we have time now, to grow a garden out back. And who doesn't have grandparents that live in Palm Desert? Go out there and show them how different it is in the desert. What a great show that one was too. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, we loved that show just because we got to bring in new characters, Eleanor's grandparents, which are also inspired by Eleanor's real grandparents. Yeah, who live in a very different place. And, just this idea that you can discover new things in your own backyard made it another one of these sort of perfect episode ideas. And, it's also one of the things we really try to keep in mind in the show is like, is this idea of making it accessible and relatable to kids. And, they're not off, climbing mountains, or, they're really just kind of exploring the park and exploring their backyards and looking at the trees and the lizards and the bugs around them. So that was kind of important. And so, yeah, I agree. That's one of my favorite episodes as well. Because we wrote it. Daniel and I wrote that one.
So are you guys producers on it? You write as well? Explain to me what your involvement with the show is exactly.
Yeah, so it's we're involved at almost every level. We're the producers, we're executive producers as well. We're also some of the writers, and we sort of lead the writers' room in a way. But we also comment at every point of it, from casting to pitches, through animatics and animations and sound editing and sound mixing, and all of these discussions all the way through.
How did you pick Elinor, the voice of Elinor?
Oh, yeah, that's a question my daughter asks me all the time. She's like, we had a blind casting. So it was important for us that the cast was, diverse and sort of reflected a lot of the diversity of our audience and the diversity that the kids are, familiar with and see in their everyday lives. So we sort of made a concerted effort to look for different voices and diverse voices. But then when it came time to sort of look through the auditions, those were all blind casted. And so the Eleanor's voiced by a great actor in called Marquita McKay, and she just when we heard her voice, we thought that's exactly the kind of energy and curiosity and wonder and excitement about things that we wanted, that resonated with the character.
Yeah, we thought a lot about whether to have adults playing the kids, but in the end, we decided to have child actors because they had that enthusiasm and that innocence and that wonder. It just came naturally to them. We didn't feel faked or acted.
See any new characters as this goes along? Because I know the show's going to last for years to come. So do you have lots of ideas? There's no way it's not going to last for years.
Oh, thank you, Judy. We're keeping our fingers crossed. But yeah, no, I think we hopefully set up this world where we can meet new characters all the time. We paid a lot of attention to not just creating a character and sort of a setting, but really creating a whole world and full of fun and interesting characters. So I think as we go on, hopefully we'll get to meet a lot of the characters that you sort of sometimes see on the periphery, but also, there's just a chance to also kind of expand beyond Animal Town. All the characters live in a place called Animal Town. So hopefully we'll get to meet more of them.
And we have lots of ideas for other things these kids can explore. There's no shortage of questions that kids ask about the world. And so we already have a huge pile of ideas for the future and new ideas for characters.
That's awesome. So do two of you mind talking about, let's talk about your science world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a professor of physics down at UC Irvine, and in my day job, I smash particles together at the Large Hadron Collider and try to create new forms of matter and understand what's the universe made out of, and figure out what dark matter is and this kind of stuff. But at its core, it's driven by curiosity. It's like the basic questions we're answering are questions like, what is the world made out of, and where did it come from? Why is it this way and not that way? And this is an example of what I was saying earlier, where science can seem esoteric, but really, when we get down to it, it's really pretty basic human curiosity. So it's not that big a jump for me to go from talking to my students about their research at the Collider to thinking about what questions a 4-year-old might ask about their backyard.
Daniel, do you often find yourself at meetings saying, that is so interesting, we need more observations?
We always need more observations in science.
Judy, that's the catchphrase for the character Elinor. In every episode, she says at some point, that is so interesting and we need more observations. Just because that was really the behavior, the modeling we wanted to do with this character was getting kids familiar with the words interesting and observations.
Yeah, some great words I'm picking up too. I'm like, hey, those are some pretty awesome words to our kids to learn at any age. And
one of the goals of the show is to really have the science be baked in. This is not a show where it's about some goofy adventure and then they learn a little science lesson at the end. It's really fundamental into the DNA of the show, that they're curious and they're asking questions and they're using science to answer them. And I hope, and I like to think that that's what PBS liked about our proposal, that it's done by people with science backgrounds who are really interested in science, and the science is through and through in the show. But it's also fun on the surface.
Yeah, that's true. And also too, I read where you guys also wrote a book called We Have No Idea, A Guide to the Unknown Universe.
Yeah.
How is that? Is that more for adults?
Well, that one, we also get kids reading that book, right, Daniel?
Asking really good questions.
Yeah. Yeah, Daniel and I wrote a book right before we started working on the show called We Have No Idea, A Guide to the Unknown Universe. And it's about all the things we don't know about the universe. And so that one is a little bit more about physics and about cosmology and, particle physics, but hopefully it's accessible to everyone, anyone who's interested and curious about how the universe works.
Yeah.
We
So
also
you
have
have
a
it.
podcast, Daniel. Judy, I don't know if you know. Sorry, I'm going to plug the podcast, which is
No, go
called.
ahead. I was going to say that next. Or Daniel and Jorge Explain the Universe, right?
Yeah, it has a very humble title where we try to explain everything.
Where'd you get those names?
Talking about science and joking around. And you'll see, like in the book and in the show and in the podcast, you'll see sort of a combination of appreciation for science and sort of corny dad jokes. And that's sort of like the kind of thing we do. And so it was very natural to just sort of capture those conversations and turn them into a podcast. And we've had a nice reaction to that, a nice community of listeners.
Hey, Daniel, I want to ask about that background. What is that background on your head? What is that?
This is the Higgs boson being created in the Large Hadron Collider and then turning into sprays of particles, which are then measured by various detectors. So this is a picture from the kind of science that I do.
It's not a
See?
live picture, right? It's not happening right now.
I got one.
No,
I
it's
got
a
one.
background. It's just really cool back there. I'm like, I got to find out what that is.
Collider is awesome. Upgrading it.
Wow, that is something else. So I want to ask both of you, what was the first science project you both did, if you can remember? What was it?
Wow, first science project that I can remember. I think it was like a maquette about the Arctic environment, or like the Arctic biome, where I had to like, build a mock-up of icebergs and polar bears and using cotton and foam. I think that's my earliest memory of a science project.
Awesome. Daniel?
I remember my dad brought home a small laser, just like a laser pointer. And I remember like shooting it at mirrors and seeing that dot on the mirror and wondering like, is all the laser reflected? So I built this like set of mirrors and I was like, how many times can it bounce before it fades? And so that was like some science project I did in, I don't remember which grade it was, but I was wondering like, will a laser go forever or will it eventually get, degraded?
So did
I
that
think
lead you to your career?
Yeah, I think that was an early sign, Daniel, that physics was in your future.
Well,
How did you two meet?
How do we meet? As most people do these days, online, Judy. There's a
Nice.
Tinder for physicists and cartoonists.
We were the only two on it though.
Yeah, fortunately, it was an instant match.
Now, do either of you draw?
Yeah, actually, I draw. Well, Daniel draws as well, but I'm a recovering academic, so I used to do research and I used to teach at Caltech engineering and robotics and engineering design. But at some point, I became a cartoonist. I did some comics on the side called PhD Comics, which sort of took over my career and my life, and that's sort of how we ended up at PBS.
Cool.
Yeah. So I draw. I do draw, yes.
Good.
Being way too modest. Yeah, his cartoon is famous in academic and all research circles. And so the way we met was that I was looking for somebody to illustrate some science work and make it accessible. And he's basically a celebrity in physics and biology and all these things. And so my wife suggested, hey, why don't you email Jorge and see if he could do it? But I thought, that's outlandish. You can't just email a guy like Jorge. But hey, I did, and he actually wrote back. So.
He offered money. That was what made his email stand out.
Well, thanks to that you guys got together, because I'm telling you, PBS Kids, it's an amazing platform as it is. 24 hours. It's
yeah, we love PBS. I mean, when this opportunity came up, it was just such a privilege to be able to work with them. And the people at PBS Kids are so amazing and so dedicated to really putting out content that is, of good quality and vetted by educational experts and with all the right intentions and all the right parameters, and just really amazing people who work there. It's
been really a pleasure. They were looking for folks that didn't know how to make a TV show, had never made a TV show before. And so they spent a lot of time and energy introducing us to people who had done it, who could give us some mentoring. And the first thing we did when they came back to us after we pitched our idea and they said, all right, sounds great, make the show. Let's just like Google how to make TV show or books on animations for dummies and stuff. So it's been a real learning experience for both of us. They're a lot of fun and really a pleasure to work with PBS.
Oh, great. I can't wait to see new characters and what you're all going to do with more shows. Do you?
Some of the interstitials celebrate scientists who discover things because of their curiosity, real life scientists. And one of those happens to be somebody who studied sneezing and discovered how far particles go when you sneeze. And that turns out to have more relevance than we expected when we started.
Last day?
No, just to point people to all the different places they can watch it. You know, PBS Kids, definitely your PBS station, your local station is airing it, but there's also PBS Kids 24/7 channel that continually runs, and also online, pbskids.org. There's an app where you can stream videos, and also if you have anything like Apple TV or Roku or Chromecast, those all have a PBS Kids on it. So please check it out.
Thanks for sharing that, Jorge.
Yeah, we spent the last 2 years of our lives on this, and now it's in the hand of the 4-year-olds of the world, and so we just hope they love it.
Well, they are going to, believe me. Well, you guys take care of your families. Thank you for bringing this show, and we look forward to talking to you real soon about new episodes.
Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks, Judy.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.